that. Should we get to the pie chart of blame?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
We don't have our bells and whistles, so I will not go a cappella on the NFL beds as much as I would love to.
I want you to start.
Okay.
You go first this time. Your pie chart of blame, Declan Goff, for the Vikings 52-33 loss.
3 pieces of pie in Declan's pie, and like the gentleman I am, I always start from the bottom and work my way up. I'm going to start with the NFC. I'm putting 5%, Judd, 5% of blame on the NFC conference for their ineptitude and their teasing and their can't get out of each other's way of who is really the best team, who is the team to beat in the NFC. And the Vikings, who started 1-5, go on a nice little run. They're a game away from 500. If the season ended in week 10 or whatever it was, they would have been in the playoffs. I mean, they jumped Tampa Bay for the 7th seed. And Drew Brees is a fragile human being of himself. He's no longer Drew Brees. He's going to be the next Peyton Manning, throwing that butterfly, horrible spiral across down the field. And when you look at teams like Seattle, all right, Seattle, the Seahawks, Russell Wilson's great. He's an MVP candidate, but that team is awful without him. Green Bay Packers, kind of a similar story. An elite quarterback, probably the favorite to win NFL MVP maybe, and Aaron Rodgers, but that defense is bad. Their wide receivers aren't very good. There's just holes around the NFC, and I'm putting 5% of the blame, at least, on the NFC conference, because I'm so sick of trying to figure out who the best team is. And a team like the Saints, who we thought a month ago was supposed to be the best team, has Drew Brees as a shell of himself. And, I know he's got punctured lungs, and the guy had like 7 broken ribs just a month ago. So I feel for him there, but he's no longer Drew Brees. I'm putting 5% of my pie chart of blame on the NFC conference.
Okay.
25% goes to the Vikings offensive line. And Dakota Dozier, and I have a good statement to give on Purple Daily later this afternoon as well. You can find on YouTube and our podcast feed that I will get into, and I'm going to save
Saturday Purple Daily and this show. No rest for us, Declan.
Right? Yeah, no rest for the wicked. Christmas time or what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But 25% of the blame goes to the Vikings offensive line, and it's a collection of people. I mean, Dakota Dozier, Garrett Bradbury, Riley Reif. I think Brian O'Neill actually graded out pretty solidly yesterday from Pro Football Focus. So at least
grade out, Dex.
I think about average, a little bit below average, not great, but a little bit below average. But Dakota Dozier and Bradbury had awful games. They couldn't stop the Saints, and they couldn't hold up Kirk Cousins. And by the way, Kirk Cousins is omitted from my pie chart of blame. I'm not going to say he's omitted from yours, but he's omitted from mine. Okay. I appreciated the fire and the angriness, I guess I should say, from Kirk Cousins on the sidelines yesterday, because he's fed up with it, and I don't blame him. So 25% of my blame goes to that Vikings offensive line.
According to Zimmer, the headset went out. So at the end of the first half, when Kirk melted down and we didn't know, Mike called the timeout before the pass that then subsequently got erased because the headset communication between the sideline and Kirk went out. That's why Kirk was mad. So
exactly, but still, he has been pissed off, and I don't blame him. I don't blame him for him being upset. So 25% of my blame goes there.
Okay,
and then the last chunk of my pie, the biggest piece of my pie, goes to the Vikings defense, specifically guys like Anthony Harris, even my guy Eric Wilson, and the defensive line for being completely inept at doing their jobs. I mean, I'm a defender of Eric Wilson. I think the Vikings should bring him back on hopefully the most reasonable and best contract, but I think Eric Wilson's a nice player, and I would like to see him back. He got gassed yesterday. Anthony Harris is a shell of himself, and I want absolutely nothing to do with him in 2021. The defensive line, I know Hunter's out. Everson Griffin left. Wah. Like, figure out ways to pressure the quarterback. There's unique ways you can figure out to pressure the quarterback. It's with blitzes, with other players, Judd. Maybe like your linebacker or a safety blitz or, hell, a quarterback blitz. Figure out something to make up for your defensive line's ineptitude. Mike Zimmer, your defensive guru, figure that out. So 70% of I'm not going to put it on Zimmer because I've done that before and it's lame to keep doing it. So I'm going to put it on specific players like Anthony Harris, Eric Wilson, and the defensive line. So 70% of my pie chart of blame. So to wrap up my whole chunk of pie, 5% goes to the NFC, 25% goes to the Vikings offensive line, 70% to the collection of Anthony Harris, Eric Wilson, and the defensive line for allowing a franchise record in yards, a 52 burger in New Orleans on Christmas Day, the holiest of days of all days. It was a bad loss for the Vikings. And Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah. in the words of Clark Griswold, kiss my you-know-what, kiss you-know-his-what. That's what I'll have to say.
All right. That was a very impassioned pie chart of blame. I liked it. All right. So 5%. I'll start like you did at the bottom and go to the top. 5% of my pie chart of blame. It's just a small slice, but it's got to go to this guy for submarining hope, because at every turn, at least 2 of the last 3 games, he has submarined hope. 5%, Dan Bailey. All right. Like, you're within 24-20 and you're about to go, hey, 24-21, not too bad, down by 3. I mean, the incredible thing is you gave up 52 points, and for a lot of that game, Declan Goff, it was a winnable football game, all right? Yeah. It was a winnable football game. Like, I kept saying, how are they in this? But they were. But you score, it's 24-20. The extra point, if he kicks that, it's 24-21. You're down by a bleeping field goal. That's really, really good, considering the fact that it felt like at that point the Saints probably should have been up by 20, and you miss it. And you can just feel the pin go into the balloon, right? Just like in Tampa. It's like, we got points, so now we don't have all the points that we thought we were going to have. So just a 5% chunk, just a small one. Dan Bailey is just a joy stealer as far as points go. He is the guy who you think, all we need is you to make this one. It's 1 point, and he misses it. All right. Next up, 10%. Jeff Gladney. Big step back here. He has had a nice year. He has certainly improved. He is far from being a polished product. But I felt like that there were a lot of missed tackles. I felt like he basically, I don't know if he was making business decisions, but just, I don't want to say he struggled, because he struggled in some areas of effort, like tackling Declan. Mm-hmm. And that's not really a struggle. Like, tackling's not a slump. Like, you don't go into a tackling, oh man, I'm in a tackling slump. I can't get out of this tackling slump. I've forgotten how to tackle. Like, that's not the same thing. And so I'm going to reserve a 10% piece of pie for Gladney, because I was disappointed. I really hope to see from guys like Gladney and Dantzler, who did tweak his ankle again, really week-to-week progress. And again, if this is Drew Brees in his prime, I guess I'm not shocked, but he's not. He's hurt. He's clearly concerned about his ribs. His arm strength before that was going down, and he is, I mean, your comp is perfect. He is Peyton. He is Manning with the Broncos. He's smart enough to get the ball to people, but he is certainly not slinging the ball in there. He essentially can't throw deep. And Jeff Gladney really, to me, seemed to, and I don't know what the PFF grade says for him, but he really seemed to have a questionable day when he was probably needed the most. And in game 15, I don't think it's a ton to ask to have a good game.
Yeah, I believe actually his PFF grade was one of the lowest on the Vikings, and if memory serves right, I believe it was in the 30 range. Which,
where he missed Kamara. I mean, I know Kamara's strong, but Kamara, I mean, that is effort. That is sticking with the tackle. Yeah, that's not a slump. That's bad. Okay, so 5% to Dan Bailey, 10% to Jeffrey Gladney, 40% goes to Anthony Harris and the defense. And here's why. Ant, my man. I know. You are a veteran here. You are on the franchise tag. The franchise tag is 1 year, $11.4 million. Okay. You are making more than Harrison Smith. You were expected to come back this year and play lights out and earn either from the Vikings or elsewhere, probably elsewhere, a long-term contract. You are one of the people left who's healthy, who can, who's out there, who is looked to as a beacon of light on a defense that needs that. And you appear to be making business decisions, I thought, constantly. I mean, the Kamara stuff, again, I know he's tough to stop. I know he's really good, but get in front of him and tackle him. Bring him down. Like, this is not a slump again. This is not so 40%, the defense was abysmal, but I want to start with Harris because he can't really have a bad day, and he did. And I thought he had a bad day in things that require effort. Very surprising, disappointing. His entire year to me has been disappointing, but I don't think I've seen a game from him in recent vintage where it's been like that, where I came away saying he looked bad and disinterested.
Yeah.
And what's the excuse? Like, there's none there, right?
Right.
And then finally, 45%. I am going to be unlike you. I am going to pick on not the quarterback. No, he was fine. He was fine. The quarterback does not make my pie chart of blame. I am going to pick on Mike Zimmer and the defensive preparation. 45%. Mike, I will say what you wouldn't say. This is largely on you. Like, this is like, don't give me your guys. Go pick up the depth chart of the guys that played, the defensive line and the secondary especially, and look at how many of those guys are Mike's guys. They are supposed to be the next guys.
Right.
You drafted them, you signed them. They are not guys largely who were brought off the street. Now the linebackers are, all right, but that secondary is yours. And by the way, this is game 15. You assured me that secondary would be in good shape. And I know that Mike Hughes got hurt and that stinks, but you also assured me that you are the especially cornerback whisperer. And I didn't see any whispering going on Friday against the Saints. So I'm going to give a nice big helping crisp piece of Christmas pie, 45% to Zim and a defense that without question, Declan, was not prepared. They were not prepared to play that game. And that has to at least go back on Mike, Andre Patterson, Adam, his son, who are the co-defensive coordinators. This falls back on you. Like, you can't just say, I wish I had my guys back. Well, that would be nice, but you gave up 52 points. You gave up 52 points. You didn't have a rough day where you gave up 36 points. You gave up 52 points. I mean, it's the most points. Think about this. Les Steckel's 3-13 team in 84. The Frazier years, which became, Josh Robinson watching or hearing Aaron Rodgers passes go by his ear hole. All of those teams didn't give up as many points as the defense that is coordinated by a guy who is a defensive guru, not an offensive guy. The most points since 1963, which, by the way, was the third year of the Vikings' existence. So 45% Zim and defensive prep, 40% Anthony Harris, who had a terrible day, and the defense as well. 10% Jeff Gladney, who I think took a step back, and I'm not quite sure why. And 5% the killer of joy when it comes to extra points. Dan Bailey had a chance to pull you within 3 in the third quarter, and you thought we're going to be in good shape. And the last thing on Zim too. All right, explain this to me. If you know, Declan Goff, that you don't have your guys, right? Like, your defensive guys ain't out there. Okay. So you're assuming my defense in big trouble. And you win the coin flip, which the Vikings did. Do you give the Saints the ball?
No.
Like, what? You have to keep your defense. But I mean, then don't come back to me and say, didn't have my guys.
Right.
Hold on, Mike. You won the coin flip.
Yep.
We all think that your offense is pretty damn good, right? Like, we all think you got Dalvin, Justin, Adam, Kirk, Irv Smith Jr., Tyler Conklin. We all think that your offense can get the ball and drive and score, right?
Totally.
I understand if you have a defense where you have, quote unquote, your guys saying, okay, Saints, you get the ball first and we're going to show you.
Sure.
But if you're going to come back post game and say, oh, have you seen who we don't have? Then don't give them the football to start the game with.
I know.
Like, it's totally contradictory. It's totally contradictory. You do that to make a statement. What was your statement yesterday? As you said, we're going to give up a 52 burger. That's your statement?
Yeah.
So help me out here. Like, the contradictory message. Don't come back and tell me that this is your worst defense, which is true, but don't come back and tell me that after you gave Breeze and Kamara, especially, the football. And by the way, on the first touchdown run by Kamara, which I think was 40 or 42 yards, he was not touched.
I know.
So you basically gifted them a touchdown.
I know.
That's last time I checked. That's nobody's fault, but the guy who makes the decision, that's
Correct.
Mike Zimmer.
Correct. Ugly loss.
Ugly loss.
Merry